Donald Trump just announced that he is setting up an insider trading information subscription service. If you pay Donald Trump, $100,000 a month, he will give you early access
to the President of the United States himself, to what he's about to announce to the public regarding public policy and strategic decisions before he announces it, sold to the highest bidder by the company he controls. When you finish watching this video, you'll know exactly how much money that access is really worth and understand who actually pays for it with money they didn't know they were spending. You've heard the notion of insider trading? The label fits this product being sold by Trump, as far as logic goes. What is misunderstood is the part that makes the whole arrangement legal and the part that makes it permanent. Two mechanisms are running at the same time, and together they've built something the law has no name for yet. Here is the question this video answers. A firm is willing to pay $100,000 a month for a data subscription tied to Donald Trump's posts. That price is a floor, not the ceiling, since it's the investments of these financial institutions. It tells you those posts are worth far more than $100,000 to the people buying them. And by the end, you'll see roughly how much more, and who covers the difference. Hold that number, we'll come back to it. Here is what the financial press missed when they covered this a few weeks ago. What Trump Media launched in July 2026 wasn't a new product in a new market. A second layer was added on top of a structure that was already extracting money from ordinary investors long before anyone heard the name Truth API. Go back to 2013. Robinhood launches with a simple argument. The information gap between Wall Street and Main Street has closed. Zero commissions, fractional shares. The same data, arriving at the same time for everyone. For about a decade, that argument held up in public. What it didn't account for was the infrastructure being built underneath it. High-frequency trading firms had spent years solving a problem most people didn't know existed. Speed. Not speed in the human sense. Speed in the physics sense. These firms pay millions every year to physically locate their servers closer to stock exchange data centers, because the speed of light across fiber optic cable is the margin they compete on. Milliseconds, thousandths of a second. That is the game, and it was already running before Trump Media filed a single patent. Between 40 and 60% of US equity trading volume is now algorithmic. The retail investor using Robinhood isn't competing against another retail investor. They're competing against systems that don't sleep, don't hesitate, and don't read. They process. If you've ever placed a market order and watched the price move against you in the 2 seconds before it filled, you already know what the gap feels like. That was the system working exactly as designed, with you standing on the losing side of it and no word for what had just happened to your money. The gap already existed. What changed on July 16, 2026 was that Donald Trump's company decided to sell it. Trump Media and Technology Group, publicly traded on NASDAQ under the ticker DJT, is the company through which Donald Trump has monetized his name, his platform, and now his attention. Trump holds 41.5% of the company's shares through a revocable trust controlled by his son, Donald Trump Jr. Nearly half of every dollar Truth API generates flows straight back to the man whose posts it sells. Look at what that arrangement actually is. As president, Trump produces information that moves markets. As the largest shareholder in Trump Media, he collects almost half the revenue when his own company sells a head start on that information. The same announcement earns him on both ends, once for setting the news in motion and again as the owner of the firm charging for advance access to it. Every dollar of that money is drawn out of ordinary investors who never agreed to sit on the other side of the trade. A private citizen trading on the same information would be charged with insider trading. Built on top of the presidency, the identical conduct currently has no name in law. The company needed that revenue badly. Trump Media's stock had dropped more than 80% since going public in March 2024. Losses reached $605.5 million in Q4 2025 and $405.9 million in Q1 2026. Devin Nunes, the previously ousted CEO, had earned $47 million in 2024, A year, the company reported operating losses above $400 million. Kevin McGurn replaced Nunes as interim CEO. His first major product announcement was Truth API. On July 16, 2026, McGurn filed an official press release through Globe Newswire, a business-to-business data feed providing licensed real-time access to posts from the highest-ranking Truth Social accounts, delivered in milliseconds, available continuously with a historical archive going back to 2022. Markets already move on Truth Social posts. Truth API delivers a direct, licensed, real-time feed of the platform's most market-moving truths. He named the product and the mechanism in the same sentence. The price is between $60,000 and $100,000 per month, depending on the breadth of accounts accessed, while a recognized institutional tool, such as Bloomberg Terminal, used by professional traders worldwide, costs about $30,000 for an entire year. Truth API costs more than 3 times that amount every single month. More than 10 customers signed up before the public launch, mostly high-frequency and algorithmic trading firms. Here is the objection you're probably forming right now. Donald Trump's posts are public. Anyone can read them. Truth Social is open. What's being sold is just faster delivery of something already available to everyone. That's true, and it's exactly beside the point. Reading the post was never the hard part. The hard part is acting on it in the time it takes light to travel from a server in Florida to a trading desk in New York. That window is too small for any human to work inside. An algorithm lives there comfortably. The distance between the moment Trump hits publish and the moment human awareness catches up is exactly what McGurn's company is selling. Richard Painter served as chief ethics lawyer in the White House under President George W. Bush. A partisan critic, he isn't. When Painter reviewed the Truth API announcement, he had a specific legal framework in mind.
It gets instantaneous access, which is just another euphemism for advance notice. Then they get ahead of the line. They get to place the trade first based on the United States government information.
A former White House ethics lawyer called it a euphemism for advance notice. That's not hyperbole. That's a legal characterization from someone who spent years writing the rules governing exactly this kind of arrangement. On July 30th, 2026, Jamie Raskin, ranking member of the House Judiciary Committee, sent a formal letter directly to Kevin McGurn at Trump Media's Sarasota headquarters. What he wrote was blunt. That's a congressional letter signed by Jamie Raskin, sent to McGurn by name and written into the official record. Now add the second mechanism. Firms buying Truth API aren't buying it so their analysts can read Donald Trump's posts faster. They're buying it so their systems can act faster. The milliseconds of delivery advantage feed directly into algorithmic execution, into programs that identify the signal in a presidential post, calculate the market implication, and open positions before any human trader has finished reading the headline.
Advantage of even milliseconds, thousandths of a second, can mean a victory over your rivals or a victory over your counterparties. And that can translate into millions of dollars for every trade.
Millions of dollars per trade on a millisecond advantage built on a presidential post. This is where the two mechanisms stop being separate and become one pipeline. Donald Trump is the source of the market-moving information. Trump Media, the company Trump controls as its dominant shareholder, sells millisecond-early access to that information. Institutional buyers feed that access into algorithmic systems, executing before the broader market has processed what Trump wrote. Somewhere on the other side of every one of those trades sits a retail investor who paid for the transaction without knowing they were in it. The president generates the signal. His company sells the head start. The algorithms collect the winnings. Go back to that number: $100,000 a month, $1.2 million a year. No CFO approves that spend without a return that justifies it. At a conservative 10 times threshold, each subscribing firm needs to generate $12 million a year just to break even on the subscription. At 100 times, and in high-frequency trading 100 times on a single information edge is common, that number becomes $120 million per year. Per firm, with more than 10 firms already subscribed. Call that what it is: plain arithmetic. Every dollar in the calculation has a counterparty, and that counterparty is usually a retail investor who never saw the trade coming. What do you think the actual ROI is for these firms? Drop your number in the comments. If this video is changing how you see markets, hit like and subscribe. Every week we cover exactly this, the real mechanics of how money and power actually move. Legal challenges arrived quickly. Several media organizations filed suit against Trump media over the service. Congressman Richie Torres sent a formal letter to SEC Chair Paul Atkins asking the commission to investigate Truth API directly. Democratic members of the House Judiciary Committee followed with their own letter to federal regulators. Publicly, the SEC hasn't acted. Atkins was appointed by Trump. The Supreme Court recently ruled that Trump can remove independent agency commissioners for any reason. Painter noted his confidence in Atkins, while also stating that Atkins has both the right and the power to insist the law be enforced or resign. What separates Truth API from every other data product on the market is a single distinction. Bloomberg Terminal provides fast access to market data. Reuters provides fast access to news. No other social network is the primary official outlet for announcements by the sitting president of the United States. Trump media says posts are already public when they reach the API. Speed is being sold, not secrets. That argument may eventually reach a court. So far, it hasn't been tested. The firms buying this service have done nothing a court has ruled illegal, and Trump media has not been charged. That's the part most coverage gets wrong. The story here is the absence of a law, not the breaking of one. Here is why the gap exists. Insider trading law was written for one specific scenario. A person with privileged access to material, non-public information uses it to trade, or tips someone who does. Legislators assumed the information came from a relationship, a theft, a breach of duty owed to someone else. Every version of the rule leans on that single assumption. Now hold that assumption up against Truth API. Donald Trump is the source of the market-moving information. He controls the company selling millisecond access to his own announcements. That sale runs through a subsidiary with SEC filings, a press contact, and a licensing email address. All of it public, all of it documented. Every element the law was built to catch is missing because the one thing it was built to catch is a secret, and the information is technically public the instant it posts. What's being sold is the head start, and no statute was ever written to police a head start on the president's own words. That is the gray area in a sentence. The conduct looks like insider trading, produces the same harm to the investor on the other side of the trade, and fits none of the definitions written to stop it. In markets, a gap like that works as an invitation. Openings. This large never stay open for long. More than 10 firms have signed. Truth API launched August 1st. Markets continue to move on Trump's posts. His April tariff pause triggered a $1.5 trillion rally. Each time the market moved on a post, firms with millisecond access were already positioned. Each time those firms were positioned, someone else sat on the other side of the trade. The retail investor who lost that day made no mistake. The game had been restructured around them, and the new rules were never announced. They were paying into a system engineered to take from them, without ever being told the system existed. The law has a name for selling advance access to information that moves markets. It calls it insider trading. The only question, the one Paul Atkins hasn't answered, the one Jamie Raskin's letter hasn't forced, and the one the market won't resolve on its own, is whether that law was written for a world where the source of the information is the President of the United States. If you want to understand how power and money actually work, not the version they teach, subscribe. We publish every week. And if this video changed how you see markets, leave a comment. We read them all.